Hi, in this tutorial we'll learn to navigate in and out on Ableton Live. This is what Ableton Live looks like when it appears on your screen. On the top left corner over here, this is called the tempo area or the tempo section. Assuming that you know what link follow external sync tap switch is, I'm going to skip that part. This is where Ableton will display the global tempo of a particular project. As you can see, it is set to 130 BPM. I can adjust the tempo by simply clicking here and scrolling it upwards or downwards to set the desired tempo. Or I can simply type in the desired tempo that I want and press enter. Right next to it, there are nudge options, time signature, metronome, and global quantization. Next to the tempo area, this section over here is called the transport area. This is the follow action switch over here. When this switch is enabled, Ableton will start behaving according to your follow action preferences. Right next to it is the beat clock. Then you have three buttons over here, as you can see: play, stop, and record. Next to it, you have plenty of options to manipulate a MIDI clip or a scene in the session window. Next to it is the loop area, from where you can set your loop, and you can enable or disable loop selection by simply clicking here on this particular switch. And you can also press Command and L from the arrangement window to enable your loop selection. Here, the next switch that we have is draw mode switch. When this particular switch is enabled, you can start drawing automation in the MIDI clip or the arrangement window. There are several ways to enable draw mode. You can right click here in the MIDI clip and select or deselect draw mode to enable or disable draw mode. Or you can simply press B from your computer keyboard to enable or disable draw mode. The next switch over here is the computer keyboard switch. When this switch is enabled, you can start writing MIDI from your computer keyboard. As you can see here, I can now write MIDI from my computer keyboard. Right next to the computer keyboard switch, there is a key mapping switch over here. When this particular switch is enabled, you can assign any parameter from Ableton Live to your computer keyboard. Let's say I want to assign this particular MIDI clip to the numeric key 0. All I have to do is select this MIDI clip first and press 0 when key mapping is enabled. And now when I press the numeric key 0 from my computer, this particular clip will start to play, as you can see. Okay. Next is the MIDI mapping switch. When this particular switch is enabled, you can assign any of these parameters to your MIDI controller or MIDI device. Let's see how it's done. Let's say I want to assign this particular parameter to my MIDI controller. I'm going to select this parameter over here, go back to my MIDI controller and tweak the knob or the fader that I want this particular parameter to be assigned to. So as you can see, this is now assigned to a fader on my control surface. Now I can start controlling this particular volume control knob from my fader, as you can see here. Okay. This is where Ableton will display the CPU usage. This is also called the CPU usage meter. You can enable the CPU usage meter from the drop down menu over here by clicking here on enable CPU meter. You can also configure your audio input settings and output settings